is Jennifer, and I run Facebook page Art by J. Whitlock, and I do acrylic pouring, and I am at home for the weekend. Lots of you have been at home stuck because of this pandemic. I have not been. I've been at work every day, but I do get the weekends off, which is great, and I have some time now to sit in the studio while my kids junk out on Minecraft. I know, Mother of the Year. So I am going to try out a technique I've been working on that I enjoy. It may or may not be a fail. I'm still working on perfecting it, but I'm going to be making some coasters with this technique, the reverse flower dip, and hopefully we'll get some good results. Before I get started on actually pouring onto the coaster, I wanted to talk a little bit, just take 2 minutes to talk about the paint that I use and the formula. You're gonna find that my formula may not be quite what you need. Just practice, 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 and find what's really good for you. So the white that I use is the Artist Loft Flow Acrylic, and I mix that with 3 parts paint to 1 part the Satin Enamels, and that will make 1 part paint to 1 part Floetrol. So 3 parts of white, 1 part of the satin to make 1 part, and 1 part Floetrol to match. The Dioxazine purple that I use is Liquitex Basics, and I use 1 part to about 4 or 5 parts of Floetrol. This is a pretty heavy paint, and mixes really well, but to make it flow real good for this type of pour, I will mix it with about 3, 4, sometimes even 5 parts of Floetrol. The gold is Sargeant Art Gold. This is actually the exact opposite consistency of the Liquitex Basics. It is very thin, so I actually use 1 part paint to about 3/4 of a part of Floetrol for this. Otherwise it'll just be really, really runny. The Prussian blue, same as the Dioxazine purple, is a pretty heavy body paint, so we'll use 1 part of the paint to about 4 or 5 parts of Floetrol. The orangey red color that I made here is actually a mixture of the Liquitex Basics Cadmium Red Light Hue with a little bit of this Apple Barrel Bright Red, and it's simply because the color that I was getting wasn't quite red enough, so I just mixed the two together, and I put about, you know, 1 part of this red light hue to about 1 part of this bright red, and I mixed it about to make 1 part of paint, and I mixed it 2 to 1 with the Floetrol. Because this bright red Apple Barrel paint is very thin, it thins this heavier body paint up pretty well. The sap green that I use is a Marte. Let's get that in camera. Really nice creamy paint, Marte, and I mixed that 1 part paint to about 2 parts of the pouring medium, which is the Floetrol. The candy apple, actually it's a sour apple color by DecoArt, and I will take this entire bottle and mix it 1 part paint to 1 part of the Floetrol. So actually, to get this, I actually had to use 2 of these DecoArts. The magenta that I have is the Marte as well. I have a giant 2-liter of it, and that is mixed 1 part paint to about 2 parts Floetrol. I want my paints to be a little bit thinner for this type of a pour because they will blend well together and create a lot of good lacing. So if you have color or questions about the colors along the way, you can leave them in the comments. And I'm sure that my formulas will continue to evolve as I make videos, and I'd love your suggestions and tips. You are welcome to leave those in the comments as well. Thank you. For this video, I am going to lay down a layer of the white and evenly distribute it along the entire coaster. You do want to have a good sized pillow for your paint. It is likely that you will make a mess. And this, because this is practice, I'm not taping the underside of my coaster. If I can get a good result, I may do that later on. It'll help me keep the underside of the coaster clean, and also help me prevent drips that I might have to sand off later. And if I keep it taped, I can just leave it taped for when I resin it. So the first thing I'm going to do with my white is get my torch and blow out any bubbles. Don't get too close, just a few passes, because then I will pass along it again later. So I'm just going to start with this one. I'm going to use the dot method rather than the spiral. We'll try a few and see what works better or gets us a better result. So here we go. I'm going to start with my magenta. I want to try to fill in the whole space, so there's not a whole lot of negative space when I'm done. And maybe this bright red. I'm going to work my way towards the middle. Dioxazine purple. A little white that's made up to break up the colors a little. And the blue, Prussian blue. Pull out some gold and see if that'll add a little something something. Some more magenta. I think it's okay if it drips over the edge. It looks like we might not be quite level, and that's all right. You can always get it to go back just a little bit. It's just practice. Some more of our orangey red color. And I think I'll do Dioxazine purple. And let's make a good center here. Let's start with our magenta like we did before. Not quite center. Let's move everybody over here. There we go. And some gold. And some white. Some Prussian blue. A little bit more white. It looks like a sloppy mess, but you know, whatever. I'm gonna move it right out of the way for a second and spray my paper towel. I cut my paper towels into some small squares. Spritz it, give it a nice spritz. Move this back into the camera. And that center just a little bit. Before I put my paper towel down, and just for interest, I'm going to add just a couple small areas of green. That'll give us the impression of leaves around our flower. And some lime candy apple green. And paper towel. So I'm just gonna lay it on there very carefully, trying not to have air bubbles, and give it a good tap. The artist out there that inspires me is Fiona from Slovenia, who is a master at this. And here I am still practicing and seeing if I can get anywhere near the results that she does. So we will see. Just pat, pat, pat. There's gonna be a lot of paint in the middle. And I struggle a little bit with the middles getting kind of muddy. So we'll see. So I'm gonna take my corners and pull them up. And gather them together. And when they're all gathered together, pull up. Chunk it. We can move our center around a little bit. It does get a little muddy. Right. The colors together are so pretty. They end up looking a little like an iris. And you can poke it to get a little bit more of a petal feel and some of the other colors in the middle to come out. So I take my torch and torch it, get some of these air bubbles, and get some lacing. And here's a bitty flower dip. Kind of looks like a flower. Bring you down a little closer so you can see it better. Really pretty. Needs more practice. Doesn't quite look like a flower yet, but maybe you can join me on that journey. Look forward to doing more. Thank you for watching.